Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested to migrate to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side, so once we all updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insight. Now, apologize in regards to my nosy voice. I've just gone through a celebration of the New Year's Eve with family, so got a little cold. But anyhow, I'm still considered to get the information through to you. So just bear with me about my voice there. Now, what we wanted to discuss in today's video is about the employment sponsor visa. Now, you may notice on the 25th of November 2023, there has been a major announcements in regards to reform for the employment sponsor visa, whereby the medium and short-term skill occupation list occupation, that means all the occupation, as long as you get sponsored by an Australian employer, you will be able to transfer into you'll be able to access and transfer into a permanent residency after 2 years of full-time work, which is great. Now, it may sound easy, but it's actually very complicated. Now, in this video, I would like to discuss how complicated that is to actually get an employment sponsor visa. Now, what I'm trying to convey is that it's not just going, landed in Australia, or perhaps talk to an employer in Australia and they're willing to sponsor you. There's actually a lot of hurdles. Now, there are a lot of different types of working visas around the world, but for Australia, it's actually very complicated. Not just getting offer, you get a visa. No, having a job, an offer in Australia, sometimes, or perhaps 50%, probably you won't even get a visa because you're not just meeting the requirement. So let's just getting through those actual detail there. Now, first of all, you may be able to access to the Home Affairs website, and you may find this subclass 4A2, which is the employment sponsor visa, working visa. Now, I particularly chosen medium term stream. Currently, there's not much of changes because either short term or medium term, you can access to the permanent residency pathway afterwards anyway. So what I wanted to go through with you is, first of all, you see that there's a little toggle there. You can toggle between applicants and sponsors. So I would like to talk about the sponsors first. Now, there is a trick here, is that, obviously it's a visa applicant who wants the visa. Otherwise, they cannot even stay. Now, vice versa, the employer wants to give you a visa so you can stay and work for him or her anyhow. But a lot of employer is lack of information and knowledge in regards to how they could actually or potentially sponsor you, because they don't need to care about visas at all, not until the point that they need to sponsor you. So they need to get educated as well. So we probably can send some of our video to them so they could understand it. And also we have a little easy form for them to complete, so we can also do a very quick assessment for them as well. If you can get them to type in amecnews.com/employer, there's a little Google form, they can get themselves punching their detail. Now, why do we create this Google form? It's pretty easy. Now, no boss, no employer will like to disclose their financial documents to the employee, right? And same thing, employee doesn't want to have their private documents, for example, IDs and other stuff, disclosed to the employer. So as a migration consultant here, we're here to facilitate either side. So you can may want to use that facility or functions, or perhaps leave a comment right down below. We can assist you on that one. Now, Going back to the website, so we have toggled this to the sponsor. We need to check out what the requirement or criteria for a sponsor. So the employer, the Australian employer, required to become a standard business sponsor. Now, what are these stuff? These stuff basically the employer requires to disclose all their taxation, business registration documents. So I have commonly receiving a same question in regards if an employer or a business is making a loss, can they still become a standard business sponsor? Now, my answer to that is usually won't. Now, the reason that they're assessing those financial is they want to see the business is financially fit in order to pay for the future employee. Now, why do they need to be financially fit? Well, it's pretty easy. They will only do that and they will pay the taxes. How government make money is through taxes. If they are not financially fit, if they are making losses, they're not required to pay taxes. Then why on earth should the government serve those, business is shaky, it's not making money? And secondly, if they're making loss, how are they going to pay your salary? If they cannot pay your salary, can that become an issue, that an imbalance of how employer will start to do the wrong things towards the employee? I mean, the skilled migrants. And a lot of the previous cases happen is when the employer wanted to save money and employ overseas skilled migrant with a lower pay. You see where the problem is. So the first thing first, they need to be financially fit. So they need to lodge provide their taxation documents, their business registration documents, and website, and a little bit of description on what they do. And then they can do a DIY, or we can assist, or perhaps find out a migration agent to assist, professionally assist on this one to become a standard business sponsor. So you can see there's a standard one and there's an accredited sponsor. Accredited sponsor is usually for a larger corporations where they requires a lot more employees to be sponsored. So generally a small and medium-sized business won't be able to get accredited sponsor. And also it also opens for a startup business. For example, they connected to innovative technological services or whatever that is, and access to a venture capital fund, so they can access to this accredited sponsor. So limited number of people or employer will have this one. Okay, second one is nominated work eligible occupation. So that's pretty easy. They would basically have to nominate an occupation that it's directly connected to what they need. So why do I say that? It's pretty common sense, but a lot of people just don't get it. Now, first of all, a restaurant should nominate a chef, cook, or restaurant manager, right? A restaurant should not nominate accountants or IT professions, okay? Vice versa, an IT firm should not nominate a chef. It just doesn't make any sense. So you need to be within the common sense, and you need to be within a business sense. Okay, that's basically what it is. Okay, now third is be unable to find Australian workers. So this one will connect you to the labor market testing, which, they said they're gonna abolish the labor market testing whilst they'll talk about it on the migration reform report back in April last year, but the new policy has already arrived, and it's concrete now. You still need to do a labor market testing. While you click into that link, it will basically show you what you need to do. Now, easily said is you need to put the employer required to put two job advertisements, a pay advertisements, usually will be on seek.com, and the other one will be indeed.com.au, and just to show that through those job advertisements you were still unable to attract any Australian workers. Okay, that's basically what you require to do, that the employer required to do. And then the next one is pay the annual market salary rate. So that needs to be above 70,000. Anything less than 70,000 cannot be done. And if they are paid, normally would be paying less than 250,000. That's very, very senior employee. But anything below to 50,000 required to be annual market rate. So by means it has to be above 70,000 and with the same rate. If there is a similar or same jobs that another Australian is actually taken, it have to be matching towards that position as well. Now the next one is genuine position available. This is similar to normally worker eligible occupation. Basically talks about the it has to be the sector employ the sector's needs. So basically I'm not going to go through detail on that one. It's pretty common sense, and it has to be 38 hours per week. Okay, that's the full-time standard in Australia. Engaged normally under written contract, so pretty sure there is an employment contract. There is some exemption if a normally occupation does not fall in one of these exemptions. Normally must be usually exemptions are those occupations, for example, in religions and things. So 99% will have an employment contract, and if you're an employee, definitely you want to have a contract. Otherwise, how do you protect yourself? Okay, not engage in discriminatory practices. That basically means that the employer has not discriminating between Australian workers and the overseas workers. It's very hard to find those ones. Usually those kind of employer has already been put into misconduct or criminal action towards what they have already done. Okay, that's not what we're going to discuss today. Employment condition must be equivalent to external worker. We have talked about that, and there's no adverse information. Adverse information, for example, some employer may have filed bankruptcy previously, or they have mistreated, or they have some court documents showing that have committed some sort of offense or criminal conduct. So you normally I haven't really met any employers in such, because if they do have those conduct, I don't think they will likely to disclose and put themselves in front of the Australian government anyhow. Now next one, I wanted to go to the same visa page, but with the different toggle that we are selecting now, applicant. So the applicant means you, the person who is going to be employed, and the visa holder or applicants. Okay, so let's go into the eligibility as well. Now you may notice that there is no age limitations here. Now, but if you wanted access to permanent residency, there is an age limitation. Usually will be under 45. Now you may ask, then why on earth will the TSS visa will have no age limit here? Now it's pretty simple, because some of these employees are actually hired through international or global big corporations, and they are perhaps CEO or very senior employees, and their age could easily be over 45, but they are still required to work in Australia in order to expand whatever the business that they are doing locally in Australia. So there is no age limit, but in order to pathway to a permanent residence, you usually will be under 45 years of age. There is exemptions they're gonna do. It's not really concrete yet, but usually will be a high pay positions. So we'll have that follow up with you later this year. Now second point is beholder appropriate visa. Usually will be a substantive visa. Substantive visa means any type of other visas. You cannot be unlawful. You need to hold something, and that including bridging visa A, B, C. You may ask, why do they put that there? Because there are other bridging visa, for example D and E, which is not a very good bridging visa. Is usually connected to either unlawfulness or connected to potential criminalized applicants. So you don't want to hold bridging visa D or E. Okay, have complied with previous visa conditions. So you have been a good citizen or good visa holder. You haven't done anything bad. Been nominated by approved sponsor. So we have gone through that with the previous discuss the sponsor detail. They have to be a standard business sponsor working with you're working for the nominating employer. Now, why do they put that there? That's pretty obvious, wouldn't it? Now, the answer to this is that they are, and they have been, a lot of people been nominated by employer A, but they actually, well, they work for employer A, but they also work for employer B and C and D. They do a lot of jobs, okay? That is not complying with the visa requirement there, so they cannot do that. Now, okay, the next point, have relevant skill, qualification, employment background. Now, this one, I want you to pay a little bit attention on this one. Now, a lot of people come to Australia and find either gonna be an working hard visa, student visa, whatever it is, and then suddenly they done a part-time job, and the employer said, well, great, you have done a good job, now I'm gonna offer you a chance. Now the employer can be a standard business sponsor with no problem, and they wanted to nominate you, they want to sponsor you. Now the problem a lot of time is the employer is valid, they are okay, but you are not okay. Why? For example, giving you a scenario, you may be an IT student and you're doing a part-time at a cafe nearby universities, and the cafe restaurant said, and the owner says, well, look, you have done a great job, I would like to sponsor you as a cafe restaurant manager. Now, the first thing first, you may feel great. Wow, I can transfer into a new visa with a potential pathway to permanent residence. I don't need to study anymore. Now, then the problem comes because of this clause. It says you have to have the relevant. The key here is relevant skill and qualification. Now, asking yourself, do you have the relevant skills and qualification to be a cafe restaurant manager? Because you are only an IT student. Your background and skills are in ICT. Okay, so do you have that? Answer is no. So if the answer is no, even though the business owner want to offer you a job, you cannot successfully get that visa. And here's the key. A lot of people thought, as long as I get an Australian employer to offer me a job, I'll get a visa. No, the answer is no. Okay, so you need to have relevant skills and qualification. Giving you another scenario, for example, you're working hard in visa, you come from UK, for example, and then you've been into a agriculture or tourism industry and have been performed really well for the first 3 months, and the next 3 months the employer comes to you and say, look, I would like to offer you a full-time job to actually be with this tourism business and be the manager here. Now, again, the question we need to come back is, first of all, employer should be a valid standard business sponsor. But the question come back here is, do you have the relevant skills and qualification to actually be in that position? Now, again, if you have graduated as a cybersecurity expert from whatever the university from United Kingdom, but now you are standing on the ground of the tourism industry in Australia. Now, it's pretty obvious, you won't have the relevant skills and qualification to actually be nominated. Okay, so again, that's another scenario for you. And adding towards that, you need to have 2 years of full-time work experience within the last 5 years before you're being nominated. So not just having a skill or qualification, you need to have at least 2 years of work experiences as well. So counting towards the 2 scenarios I'm giving to you today, you may have a little think. Now, usually 70% above, the Australian employer is valid. They can be a standard business sponsor with no issue. But then the question coming back to you, do you have the relevant skills and qualification and plus that 2 full-time years of work experiences in order to actually get you the visa? Now, that's another key here. Now, next point is positive skill assessment. Now, not all passport holders required to go through the skill assessment. Now, generally, these are people who did not get a qualification from Australia, and there are certain countries, for example, Hong Kong, China, India, Pakistan, and I think Zimbabwe and South Africa. You need to check with that detail there. Now, if you are a passport holder of those countries and got experience and qualification from those countries, you're required to go through skill assessment. And usually these are the trades skills and not in the professional ones anyway. You need to get a health insurance, so if you get injured during work, you get insurance and you meet the health requirement and character requirements. So and you cannot contravene paying visa sponsorship. So do not enter into any agreement with a sponsor saying that, look, I'll pay you, get me a visa. That won't work here anyway. Now, have the right English language. Usually will be 5.5. I think I'm not too sure if they're gonna raise it a little bit up, but I would suggest you always wanting to have a competent English, which is 6 across 4 bands of IELTS test, because when you need to transfer into a permanent residency, competent English is the requirement there. Okay, have not had any visa cancelled, previous application refused. So usually won't, because if you have those issues, you won't be in Australia anyhow. No debts and signed Australian value statement. So that's basically what it is. And there's another one I wanted to talk a little bit about is there has been a lot of relative that who are Australian citizen and wanted to sponsor you. Now in Australia, under the policy, you won't go through that one, because when you lodge a visa application or nomination, there will be a specific column asking, are you related to the sponsor? Now, if you're related to the sponsor, whether it's going to be a relative or otherwise you are the actual business owner's interest in somehow, it's actually not the way of how Australian visa will actually like it. Okay, it's likely you will be refused due to that, because you'll then be counted towards paying for visa sponsorship, because your relationship basically, and they will be counted towards indirect sponsorship from a relative or relationship between. It's either gotta be close relationship or relative. It just won't go through anyhow. Now, today's video is all about employment sponsorship, so it's not as easy as you see. It's actually very complex. That's why I want to do this specific video, just to go through with everybody. So should you have more question, query, more than welcome to leave comment right down below, and I'll see you next video. Goodbye.